What's up everyone? Welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to install a new little gadget on my boat that's going to really help clear up my screen on my Livescope. So in today's video we're going to install this new little thing called a visualizer, and it's made by Performance Fishing Electronics. It'll help clear up your Livescope screen. So basically, if there's fish real tight to the bottom, a lot of times you can't see those. It's going to help you pick out those fish a little bit better. It's also going to allow you to see your bait a little bit further and help you pick up different things out a further distance from the boat, and as well as help with target separation. So like things like brush piles and things like that, it should really help see those a lot better. But basically, it's this little box, and it has a Garmin connector on the end, and then it has a positive and a negative that goes to the power source. So basically, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to want to unplug your black box. You don't want to do it to your unit. You want to do it to your black box. And the power cable that runs to your black box, honestly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my power cable that runs to my black box, I'm going to leave it in my compartment. I'm not going to like remove the box completely. I think in the instructions it says remove cable from the boat, but I'm going to leave that there kind of as a backup in case I have something wrong with my power cable or something goes wrong with my visualizer. I will be able to plug that other power cable that I'm running it on now back into my black box, and I don't lose a complete day of fishing. What I'll do first is I'll basically find that power cable. I'm going to unplug it from the power on the black box, and I'm going to trace it back and see where it's connected. And in my boat, it actually runs to like a fuse panel, and so I'm going to take these little circle connectors, and I crimp those on. I use the yellow one, which is for a little bit bigger of a wire, and it seemed to work pretty good. You could also probably get away with a blue connector, but the ring terminals on this was the right size to fit on my fuse box. So basically what I did was I just crimped those down, made sure those were tight, and those are on there the right way. But now what I'm going to do is I need to plug this in, and I need to run this cable up to the black box, and it's going to power the black box. So instead of my original Garmin wire powering the black box, it's going to have this visualizer box in between, and that's going to help really clear up your screen. So let's go ahead and open the compartment, and let's start wiring this thing up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find a spot for this to mount, and in my boat, it looks like this area right here will be a good area to mount the visualizer. And I'm going to be running my ring terminals from my power to this here fuse box. I'll run my red down here to this fuse, and then I'll run my black up here to the ground terminal. But since I have two Livescopes, I had to figure out which Livescope was powering the one that does the forward mode rather than the perspective. This is the one that powers my forward mode. So as you can see, I unplugged that, and I'm going to leave this wire in there, probably zip tie it up or electrical tape it up so it's not flopping around too much. But this new visualizer connector is going to be the one that takes its place. So I'm going to kind of set this in there, and I'll run these wires through the top over here and get it to where it needs to be. I'm not going to plug it in yet until I have everything plugged in on the fuse panel. And I'm going to also mount the visualizer first before I get too carried away. But then once I get everything done, I'm going to plug this in, and it's going to power the black box basically. But it's going to go through the visualizer first and clear up my screen. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this box. And I'm just going to use the 1/8 inch. I just found some screws that were laying around that seemed to be the right size. So I'm going to drill a small hole here, making sure that I got all my wires and everything out of the way. But get down here and find a good spot for it, and then I'm going to drill a small pilot hole basically to put that new screw in. Okay, so now that we have the visualizer mounted to the side of my compartment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these ring terminals to my fuse box. If your black box was ran directly back to your battery and a direct connection to your battery, then you could run this along the side and connect these to the battery. You'll have to just obviously use a little bit bigger of ring terminals to fit on your battery. But in my case, I have an empty spot on my fuse panel that I'm going to mount it to. So I'm going to take the red and mount it to that spot, and then I'm going to take the black and connect it to the ground of the whole fuse box. So let's go ahead and get that started. I actually have my screw here that is going to basically hold the ring terminal in there. So I'll just take and I'm going to kind of route these wires a little bit so that it's not too big of a mess. I already have way too many wires in here to begin with. But basically, I'm just going to connect the red to the fuse portion here. Get my Phillips screwdriver. Screw that in. And I'm going to take my black wire, and I'm going to find a spot on this top portion is all my ground. So found a spot where the ground could connect, and I'll put that screw back in, make sure that it's tight and making a good connection. Okay, so I got my positive and my negative coming off the visualizer, and it's nice and snug on my fuse box. I'm going to route these wires for the power cable up through this edge and basically in the gunnel of my boat. Push some of this excess wire up in there so it's not loose. Try to just button some of that up there with this other wire. And then, like I said, the last step is to just take this visualizer connector and plug it into my black box. There's a small keyhole on all these Garmin connectors, and this is the same way where you have to line that up. So it's up there, line that up, and then be able to just thread that on. Don't have a whole lot of room between the top of this and my black box, so I kind of have to wiggle it around, make sure it's on there right, and there you go. And like I said earlier, I am going to keep this original black box wire close by, basically using it as a backup. Just going to tape this up under here. That way it's still readily available if I do have an issue, and I can just plug it back into the black box, and I have my backup there and I'm ready to go. It won't ruin a complete day of fishing. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of tidy up some of these wires and make it a little bit neater in here. I don't want to have a bunch of loose wires just flopping around and getting caught on some of the stuff that I put in this compartment, like rain jackets and life jackets. I don't want them getting caught whenever I pull stuff out and potentially messing up my wiring. So it would be nice if I had this tucked away a little bit better, but I try to keep it as neat as possible. I'll try and get these wires back a little bit further. That way they're not sticking out into the compartment. All right, so there you have it. I was able to install this visualizer on my boat very quickly. It was 2 wires, and then remove the connection to the power cable on the black box and replace it with the wire that's coming off of the visualizer. So that should help clear up my screen on my Livescope, allow me to see more fish, allow me to get a little bit better target separation, as well as see those fish that are really tight to the bottom. So I'm really looking forward to trying this out. I may make a video maybe later this summer or something just to kind of compare and contrast the two, just to see how big of a difference this visualizer actually makes. So I really want to try this out and see what it does to my Livescope screen. I'm really looking forward to it. I've heard a lot of really good things. I know it's not necessarily like a magic box that's going to fix everything. You still have to have your settings on like the right settings and everything, but it's going to change good settings to great settings, and then great settings will just be escalated even further. So I'm looking forward to trying that out. It was really an easy install. I'm hoping that it helps as much as what I've heard it does. So I'm really looking forward to taking it out on the water. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.